We're back at the National Motor Museum at Beaulieu, and today I'm taking you on a tour of a very special caravan. This is one of the biggest selling caravans of all time. It's a 1971 Sprite 400 that has been beautifully preserved by the museum and used as a special community outreach project. So let's take you on a tour down memory lane. It's incredible to think now, half a century later, that this tiny little 10-foot long caravan was once one of the best-selling caravans in Britain. Just a little bit before this caravan was built, Caravans International, which was the parent company of Sprite at the time, turned out an unprecedented 33,000 new tourers over an 18-month period, which no other manufacturer in the world before or since has managed to do. And the Sprite 400 was so popular that as of 1964 it had its own dedicated production line just to focus on the production of this model alone. So you could argue that this is one of the caravans that got an entire generation of caravanners up and on the road and enjoying a taste of freedom. And it's funny sitting in it now, having experienced newer caravans that have mod cons like a fridge, an oven, got battery chargers and things and mains lights, to be in this tiny little space that has none of that, yet at the same time has everything that you need for a comfortable weekend away. Starting at the front, it has this really cute little dinette area, and would you believe this small caravan is actually a 4-berth. So the table folds down to make a single bunk at the bottom, and it has the infamous stretchy nylon stretcher, which was famous back in the day for if you had the nylon bedding that would become statically charged in the middle of the night. I'm sure there's plenty of you that have lots of stories of getting electric shock off your sleeping bag back in the 70s. This was the thing, and it was all part of the experience. Moving towards the middle of the caravan, we've got this really compact little wardrobe, and then on the opposite side we've got the kitchen, which, to say it lacks amenities that modern caravans have, it really does have everything. There's a sink area, there's a little draining board, there's a 2-burner hob and a grill, and there's even a water foot pump, which wasn't actually an original fitting. You had to pay extra for it, and I believe it was about £3 extra, which sounds ridiculous now, but back when this was new in 1971 it was quite a lot of money. Above the kitchen we've got a space to store pots, pans and things, and amazingly, when this caravan found its way to the National Motor Museum to join the collection here, it still had its original melamine set that would have been purchased probably when the caravan was new. It's certainly something that's very typical of the era in which the caravan was from. And it's all in amazing condition, which makes sense because the caravan is in amazing condition. It's never had a damp repair. It's never had any new curtains. These are the original curtains from 1971. And the original owners even put stretchy seat covers to protect the cushions, which those of you who are watching now are thinking, we've put seat cushions in our caravan, see if yours will make it to 50 years like these have. It really is in amazing condition. Towards the back of the caravan, above the rear dinette, we've got possibly the focal point, the thing that you've come to see, which is the gas lamp. Now, these weren't fitted to new British caravans as of sort of the turn of the 1980s, but they were the main source of lighting in caravans prior to that. And what you'd have to do is buy a disposable mantle that would screw into the gas lamp. You'd have to burn the mantle off, which would set a huge flame going up towards the ceiling, and then you would let the gas through, and the light would produce a really nice warm glow, and they have a very distinctive hissing sound when they are lit. You'd have to then be really careful not to touch the glass shade when it was hot, because they were quite prone to shattering, and just when you thought these things couldn't get any more dangerous, there'd be plenty of people as children who would have been unable to resist the urge to poke the gas mantle when it wasn't lit, and they would shatter into a million pieces, and mum and dad would have to fit a new one and start the process all over again. I've just described the vast majority of what caravan holidays were like in the 1970s, and think of all the things that I'm nostalgic for. Love a gas lamp, but I'm quite glad that we've moved on a bit. At the rear end, you've got the seating area where the family would be able to sit and enjoy dinner on this large table. And as a really clever piece of space-saving design, the table actually lowers to form the base of the bed. And caravans don't do this anymore. They have extra bed slats and you have to store the table somewhere. And I think from my experience of using these, the reason we don't do that anymore is because it makes the bed non-breathable. So you end up with a slightly sweaty mess on top of the table the next morning. We'll gloss over that. Caravanning was great back then. So it's amazing that this tiny little 10-foot caravan, despite the fact that it fits so much in, weighs only 620 kilograms, and that's fully laden. That's including the payload. The Sprite 400 was named as such because the original Sprite 400, when it was first introduced in 1960, was designed for the then new BMC Mini. Stepping outside the Sprite 400, I thought I'd show you some of the features that are so synonymous with caravans of this age. Starting at the front, we've got the original B&B hitch. It's a standard fitting on these caravans. And before I say anything else, you will notice that it is all finished in red oxide because, of course, it's an ungalvanized chassis. So every couple of years, you would have to strip them down, repaint them. And I bet you're quite glad that you don't have to do that to your caravan today. It's got a few quirks though, being an older caravan. Obviously the old-fashioned hitch is still 50mm in size though. We've also got a button handbrake, and those of you who remember these caravans from the first time round will remember that when you wanted to reverse, you had to get out of the car, move this little catch here and lock off those brakes, because as soon as you reverse they would jam on full. So of course we don't have to do that anymore either. And finally, we've got this little holder here where you would put your two small gas bottles that would deliver the gas supply into the caravan, which again, nowadays, not sure that would be totally compliant, but it's how every caravan was back then. Much further without talking about the iconic shape and colour of the Sprite caravan. Everyone will know who had one of these at the time. The two-tone green and white is synonymous with the Sprite brand. There's a few other little details that were synonymous with them too. Because they were such a large-scale manufacturer, they even managed to have their own hubcaps pressed that have the S-shaped Sprite logo in the middle of them. And another little thing that I will add is you'll have spotted this vent here, which is actually for a fridge, but as we saw inside, there isn't one fitted. And that's because with a Sprite, everything was an optional extra, so you didn't have to buy what you didn't need. So we mentioned that the foot pump was an extra, which they had fitted, but they didn't go for the fridge. But crucially, a really clever thing that Sprite did was they built in the ability to have all these items that you could just fit very easily. And the cupboard where the fridge would go, it was as simple as removing the hinges off the door, taking the door off, fitting the fridge, and the gas point was already in there from the factory, all ready to connect up and use. One of the things that I really love about this particular example is how well preserved it is, and the team at the National Motor Museum are continuing to, as best they can, preserve the originality of this caravan. But it also has a few non-original parts, such as these stickers at the back, which hint at the history that the caravan has previously enjoyed. These were little pennant stickers that you used to be able to buy for the rear window of your car usually, back in the days when it was bragging rights if you did more than 100 miles in your car in a day. How times have changed. We've even got the original dealership supply sticker down here from cross-country caravans, which are very long since gone, sadly. And one of the other interesting things that they've preserved is the original giant 50-mile-an-hour sticker, because the following year after this caravan was built, the speed limit for towing was raised from 40 to 50 miles an hour, but it wasn't quite plain sailing. There was a particular caravanning publication that issued readers with a free 50-mile-an-hour sticker, but they jumped the gun and announced the change too early, and so many people took to the roads to do the new higher towing speed limit that the government had to just let it happen and let them get on with it. But yeah, that was 1972 when the speed limit raised from 40 to 50 miles an hour for towing. I hope you've enjoyed taking this little trip down memory lane with this wonderful, very, very iconic 1971 Sprite 400. If you've enjoyed today's video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the Caravan and Motorhome Club's YouTube channel.